What about changes in the church structure? Well, if we look at the pre-Reformation English church and then look to the end of Elizabeth's reign and see what had changed, then some important things had gone. All the monasteries had gone, the friaries, the orders of friars, things like the Order of St. John of Jerusalem in England, had all been swept away and their goods confiscated by the crown. But other aspects of the medieval church were still there. Bishops, which were abolished in many parts of continental Europe that became Protestant, were still there in England, and they weren't just bureaucratic superintendents as they were in some of the Lutheran churches on the continent. They were still powerful men who lived in palaces, had great estates, and so on. Parish structures remained much as they had been, and the church courts stayed, so that the various plans that had been cooked up in the mid-Tudor period for a different system of moral discipline in the church, something more like the consistory courts, the kirk sessions that Calvinist churches had on the continent or in Scotland, those weren't brought into effect in England. You still had the medieval structure of church courts. And in theology, there was a slow and backwards and forwards change heading towards Reformed Protestantism, heading towards the Swiss branch of Protestantism as adopted by the French Protestants and largely by the Dutch Protestants, rather than towards the more conservative forms of German or Scandinavian Lutheranism. On the other hand, while that was the official theology of the Elizabethan Church, it was always mixed in with a hankering after the beauty of the medieval church, and some people thought or suspected the theology of the medieval church, which went with the keeping of polyphonic church music, the keeping of medieval buildings, and that trend would give birth in time to the Laudianism of Charles I's reign, to a church movement which placed stress not on pure theology derived solely from what was in the Bible, but on the beauty of holiness, on the beauty of worshipping God through beautiful buildings, beautiful music, beautiful vestments, and so on, which its critics saw as a move back towards Catholicism. So there was a cuckoo in the nest within the Elizabethan Church.